Well, good morning, everybody, and welcome to the Schooner Morning Show. I'm your host, Mark Prevo, and with me today, I'm very happy to have Gus Jaccaci, right?
Amen.
That's right. Gus is with us, been with us for quite a while, actually, haven't you?
A little over 3 years.
3 years. Isn't that fantastic? Gus, tell us where you were born.
In New York City, NYC.
NYC. You must have had talks with Cornelia Bow then, because she loves the city.
Well, I left there around literally within weeks and moved to Southport, Connecticut.
Aha. Okay. Something a little nicer. Less of a cement jungle.
Well, yeah, my dad worked in right over the Grand Central Station in the Gray Bar building. And so he used to commute in until we moved to Madison, and then he only came home on the weekends. It was too much of a haul to get out there.
Yeah.
So.
Wow. So did you grow up in Connecticut then and went to school in Connecticut? And
I still haven't.
Still haven't grown up. Good. Join the club. I love it.
Yeah. Well, yeah. So I went to school. I had asthma as a kid, and the doctors in the end said that boy needs to be in a different family and in high and dry air. And so after a summer in Wyoming, we went to Santa Fe, New Mexico, to Suki, New Mexico, where there was a wonderful family that took care of kids. And I spent a little over a year there, and got rid of the asthma and the hay fever, never to come back again, just wiped it right out.
That is amazing.
Santa Fe is half a mile higher than Denver.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's in a valley, but it's 7,500 feet.
I never knew that. Yeah. That's amazing, because they call Denver the Mile High City, and they always talk about how high it is. And, well, Santa Fe's even higher.
Half a mile higher, yeah. And it was just a blessed place, just really a lovely place. We slept outdoors every night of the year, no matter what, rain, snow, whatever. And the way we did that is they gave each of us a little covered wagon bed. It was like a miniature covered wagon, just the right length for, children.
Sure.
And you would crawl in either end and get under as many quilts as you wanted to. And sleep. And I can remember getting up one morning when it had snowed about 4 inches, and I was barefoot, and I ran to the house in 4 inches of snow.
Isn't that amazing? But out there, the climate is such that sleeping outside is really not an issue.
Well,
bugs?
It's the whole point.
Yeah.
No bugs.
No bugs or anything. I guess they can't survive that high up.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's almost like a storybook. That's tremendous.
Oh, it was just a sweetheart of a life. I went to public school in Santa Fe.
Yeah.
We rode the bus. The Ruthling family had 2 boys and a girl, and they all were going to school in Santa Fe. So I went along, and I was in the 6th grade in a school called Carlos Gilbert. And I think there were about 25 of us, and there was only 4 Anglos in that class.
No kidding.
All the rest were, Hispanic. And
Sure.
Some Indians.
Yeah.
So that was really a wonderful experience. After I got used to it and they got used to me, there were 2 boys in there, men who had already served in the Army.
Yeah.
They lied about their age and got in.
Oh my goodness.
And then they came back to school.
To
find the girls.
Oh my goodness. So did you go right through high school out there, or did you came home?
No, I didn't. I was 2 years. I went, I had been 1 year in the 6th grade. I went 7th and 8th in another junior high across town and made some wonderful friends in that school. But after 2 years there, I came east with my mother and sister.
Yeah.
And my mother arranged for me to have an interview at St. Paul's School over in Concord, New Hampshire. And I can remember the interview to this day because there were some questions on paper, and there was a question on the cavalry blank after the Indians, and you had the choice of gallop and trotted or whatever, and there was a thing on there called sauntered, and I'd never heard that before.
Right.
So I checked sauntered. The Indians, the cavalry sauntered, and the assistant headmaster who looked at my test said, no, that's not the right word. So I think you better go. So I repeated the 8th grade. I had done 8th grade out in Santa Fe.
Yeah.
But I repeated it at St. Paul's. And they kept asking, do you want to move forward? And I said, no, I'm having too much fun. I like it here.
Well, good for you. Good for you. That's nice. Yeah. That's nice. I mean, I know you're a very, very smart man. You must have gone on to secondary colleges or something after that? Or?
Well, after all the East Coast prep school necktie routine,
yeah,
going to chapel twice on Sundays, I said, I've got enough of this. I'm going to go back out west. So I applied to the University of Colorado. I applied also to Harvard, Williams, and Dartmouth. And to my surprise, I never knew, but I got admitted to all of them. But I got admitted first to Colorado, so I went there.
So you went there. They were the first ones, so you jumped on it.
That's right.
Yeah.
And I was there for 2 years on the ski team. And it was quite a time. On Thanksgiving morning, we had a ski training period, 4-day training period in Aspen, Colorado. And they had 4 feet of new snow and no base underneath it. And I didn't know how to ski in powder any more than I could whistle Dixie going backwards. So I came to my difficulty right then and there. The very first run, I went off. We started skiing at 8 in the morning, and the light was so flat you couldn't tell anything about what was what.
Yeah.
And I ended up going off a big steep drop, and I tried to snowplow beforehand, and I went off with my skis pointed like that.
Yeah.
And I broke this one off in front of the boot, and this double spiral of this left leg, and I still have the screws in it from
my goodness, that's amazing. I've skied in powder once, and it is such a difficult, you really got to know what you're doing.
Yeah. And I didn't, because I was a kid from the East at that point.
Sure.
Although I had learned a lot of my skiing in the years I was in Santa Fe. I used to work off in the summers, work off my season ticket.
Yeah. Clearing
fallen timbers and stuff out of the way for the.
Nice. Yeah. So tell us about meeting up. You met up, obviously. I know you were married and had a few children.
Well,
how did you meet your wife?
Like my beloved wife who came with me here, we were both married twice before.
Yeah.
So we were,
wow.
We were 3rd time's the charm.
Yeah.
We were together for 24 years, and it was a blessing.
Yes.
A real blessing. And so, but with my first wife, I had 2 sons, and they have turned out to be all the things that I couldn't, and twice as good at it.
No kidding.
My oldest son, born in 1968, was just invited to be the headmaster of Tabor Academy.
Very nice.
Yeah.
Tabor, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Well, he started a boarding school for boys and girls in Shanghai, China. He used to teach Chinese.
Yeah. He taught Chinese?
He taught Chinese.
Usually we go over there and we teach American, we teach the Chinese how to speak American, but he taught Chinese. That's amazing.
Well, he did. He learned to do it. He asked me at one point, Dad, what should I do for my language? And I said, go to Russia or go to China. They will be the leading countries that we'll have to deal with.
Wow.
And he chose China.
Very smart.
And just amazing.
I heard that too as a young man. I heard people giving advice and saying, you better learn Chinese because they're going to be the up and coming power
Yeah.
in the future, and it is coming true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I'm awfully proud of him because he started that. He taught at St. George's School in Newport, Rhode Island for a while, and then he was hired to start this boarding school in Shanghai, and because they wanted both. They knew all about Chinese, of course, but they wanted the American school to get ready to come to college in the United States.
Right.
All those people wanted to be in the U.S. colleges.
Yeah. Yeah.
So he fit the bill there perfectly, and he got that going. And for 5 years was the founding headmaster of the YK Pao School in Shanghai. And then he and his wife decided they wanted to head east to get back. Her father lives in Newport, Rhode Island.
Yeah.
And so they did. They made their way back, but they didn't get very far. They got as far as Cincinnati, and he became the headmaster of Cincinnati Country Day School, which is 850 kids, boys and girls.
Wow.
And he did that for 5 years, and then he said, "Come on," and they recruited him to come to Tabor.
Yeah. Boy, that's a big job being the headmaster. That's you're all the responsibility falls on you. That's quite a job. What about you? I know you did a lot of different things in your career.
Well, I was a teacher in independent schools too. I think the first place when I got out of Harvard College, I went to Rutland High School in Vermont, and I was an English teacher for a year, and I thought that was going to be my whole life. But it wasn't. I decided I didn't like putting red marks next to kids with run-on sentences and lack of agreement and all those things.
Yeah.
And so I quit grading them for that and started using the red pencil to congratulate them for beautiful sounding language whenever they made it. And so then I applied and got hired as what they call a baby dean of admissions in the Harvard admissions department. And there were about 12 of us. 3 of us were young men. The others were all, seasoned veterans.
Yeah.
But it was probably the best job I've ever had.
No kidding.
I had to interview kids about every half hour. A new person came to the door. And I would tell them, look, we've got about 20 minutes, and then I've got to write up a report about you and tell my colleagues how much I think you're wonderful. So sock it to me in 20 minutes, and don't, get hung up on president of this, captain of that, and the other. Everybody I see today will have those things. Talk to me about your soul. What do you really care about? And so I learned 10 times a day how to help kids get to their basic.
Gee, that is amazing.
It
That I've always, I'm in my 25th year here at Schooner, and I've always said, when you're looking to hire a good person, look at their heart. Hire the heart.
That's right.
And you can train the rest.
That's right.
But boy, the heart is something that the training starts right from the bottom, right? I mean, right at the very beginning. Yeah.
Amen.
Yeah.
Amen. So that's been a wonderful. But then I after St. Paul's, I went to the University of Colorado, as I mentioned. And then after 2 years, having broken my leg, and I could see I wasn't going to make the ski team in my junior year.
Yeah.
So I thought, well, let's get back to the old idea of English teacher. And I transferred to Harvard College. So I did 2 years at Colorado and 2 years at Harvard.
Yeah. Boy, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
And then made a career at Harvard, helping with
I went back.
with admissions. Yeah.
I went back and
So lived in the Boston, Massachusetts area for quite a while.
lived right in Cambridge. I I was coach of the varsity ski team at Harvard, and I was a dorm master. And so they gave us a free room and board. And I lived right on the campus, and
Wow.
right
Wow.
across the street from
Yeah.
the theaters. So that job was just wonderful, as I say. I had to travel. They used to split up the whole state and give you different things. I had Indiana, I had Vermont, because I came from there, and I had a good part of Massachusetts as my responsibility.
So you would go meet
I would go
potential students
Exactly.
there. They didn't have to come to the school. You would go.
They would do that too, but since I was responsible for the talent in those three places I mentioned,
Yeah.
I would go to them.
Yeah.
And I used to plan my trips to Vermont when it was peak foliage.
Ah, smart.
And I'd spend 2 weeks driving around to all these little, there was a couple of big ones, Burlington and Rutland, but
Yeah.
the rest were all small.
Yeah.
And it was wonderful. I ended up getting 17 people in my second year into Harvard. And that sounds like a triumph, but I'm not sure it was, because those kids were really shaken up by the difference between where they came from and where they were going.
Yeah. I could see coming from a small town, Vermont,
Yeah.
into Harvard's a big place.
Oh.
And it's right across the river from a major city, and
Yeah.
what a culture shock.
Yeah, exactly. They suffered from that.
Yeah.
And I don't like to say it, but one of the boys I never did meet committed suicide.
Oh, no. Gee. Too much.
Too much.
Too much.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I know you have also continued to teach your entire life, still
Yeah.
today. I remember we had a course on love that you were doing before this
right.
pandemic, once a week, right? You had a group that was meeting, and
Yeah.
that was going very, very well until this happened.
This happened.
Yeah.
Right. So I have kept going. I'm hoping my son will be able to I'm urging him to try to make one class where he loves to teach, and he wonders whether he should have been a professor and gone that route, or whether where he is right. And I said, well, it's right if you do both. Go ahead and when you go in there, get yourself a teaching position on something you really want to teach.
Right, right.
And so you'll get, at least once a week, you'll get to do your passion. I went, when he was teaching at St. George's, I went to see him teach Chinese, and it was amazing. I couldn't believe it. He could remember the correct pronunciation when there was a word that you could have said were two. One would be house and the other would be horse or whatever. And he memorized all the work that every kid had done. And so the whole class was about them speaking Chinese and trying. And he would coach them. And he'd say, do you remember last Wednesday what you said was this and that?
Oh, my goodness.
I just couldn't believe that he was doing this foreign language, but doing it with so much compassion and connection with his students.
Right. He must be one of those rare individuals that has that photographic memory that they just see it once and it's forever
there. It's there.
in the bank. It's right there and they've got it. And I know one or two people like that. It's amazing. I mean, the sky's the limit for someone like that because you don't forget anything.
Well, he also has the same capability with hearing.
Amazing.
So
Amazing.
Seeing and hearing, he's got flypaper.
Yeah. Well, boy, oh boy, this has been wonderful, Gus. I mean, doesn't time fly?
Oh.
It's amazing.
Are we out of time already?
Well, tell us, are there any other hobbies or passions or interests that you'd want your friends and neighbors to know about you?
Yeah, and then you mentioned that we might be able to get back to this later.
Yes.
But right now, I'm really concerned because all the reading I do and all the people I talk to, I'm really concerned that we're up against a lot harder. They say that if we keep doing what we're doing now, we won't be able to breathe within 40 or 50 years from now. We literally will not be able to breathe.
With what we're putting into the atmosphere? Yeah.
So my passion is to try to figure out how I can wake us up to getting good thinking going about how we deal with the climate change.
Yeah.
And there are two things I think that are critical. One is there's a new energy that they're discovering called zero-point energy. Have you heard anything about
No,
that?
I haven't, no.
It's based on the fact that at zero temperature, when it gets all the way down to nothing, there is still and all more action going on at that level with things coming into being and out and in and out and in and out than they ever thought was possible. And they say one sugar cube full of that energy can practically gobble up the ocean. So that's a key passion, trying to get that thinking in here
Yeah.
and out there. And then the other one is love. I really believe that our only chance of survival and salvation is to evolve a full human civilization based on love.
Mm-hmm.
And so those are my two passions. Love as a cosmology. See, love is much more than just between individuals. It's really how the entire universe works. So the universe is made of love, by love, and for love. And so we got two wake-up calls that my passion is to try to pass them along.
Boy, and those are big. Those are big. Two of the biggest, the biggest on the planet.
Amen.
So
let me shake your hand.
Yeah, you're.
That's exactly. You've got that.
I'll tell you, you've got your work cut out for you, sir.
We all do, yeah.
Well, very interesting, as I knew it would be, Gus. I can't thank you enough. I'm sure we could talk all day. I just know we could. I know we could. But for those of you out there who are watching, remember to watch every Tuesday and Thursday morning at 10:05. This has been the Schooner Morning Show, and our guest today has been Gus Jaccaci. Look him up sometime, have a conversation. He is a brilliant man, very, very smart, and he has a heart of gold. Take care. Have a wonderful day, everybody. Thank you, Gus.
Hope to see you in the future, folks.
Great.
God bless you.